What other avenues can one then explore in getting to the same destination? If, for instance, I'll use an example, next year, a lot of people that are sitting here are going to do CTA. And God forbid, but for whatever reason, if it happens that now you don't meet the requirements at TATS, but let's say you get in at UNISA, and now, situation is just so that you need to start working. How does Saka then, accommodate one? How do they then allow you to work within the same framework to be able to reach the same destination? Um, yeah.
So here I'm going to market UNISA a little bit. So, and we say this to students every year. It's because of the number of trainees we take every year. And you have a candidate who's at UP doing CTA, for instance, and CTA doesn't go well, but they did not apply at UNISA. Meaning you can't register for CTA anywhere in the country. So I know around September, UNISA say just apply, get a student number. Whether you're going to come to them or not doesn't matter, but just have it, just do it anyway, right? So that's very important, you can do that. However, if you have an opportunity, even if it's distance learning, to do it full-time, I would recommend it. If you have that opportunity to do it full-time, I'd recommend it. Once you join a firm, you would work long hours. You would get your study leave, it's very limited. It's quite demanding. So I can't imagine, even for our candidates who are doing right now, CTA and studying at the same time, it's a lot. It's a lot. So I would not recommend that personally. If you get an opportunity to do it full time, even if it's distance learning, just get it out of the way. Once you work, I expect you to be at work at a certain time. I expect you to deliver. There'll be some weekends we have to work, unfortunately, right? Yes, we have to be accommodative of our students who are studying, but you won't get as much time than someone who's actually doing it full time. There isn't really a requirement in terms of psycho that prohibits anyone from studying and working at the same time. You can do that. There are people who've done that and are successful at it, but how many of them, right? How many of them? So if you get an opportunity to do it full time, say do it full time.
Can't agree more. Cannot agree more. My first attempt at honors CTA at Tux, I didn't pass. I can't remember how many subjects I passed. But anyway, then I started my articles, and then I did it through UNISA. But that's okay because I have been through it once at least. But you got to be super amazingly genius to do start articles and start honors in CTA at the same time. Very challenging because articles it's not to say it because it's off-putting. It's nice when you're there. It's one of those things when you get through it. It's probably like varsity and race. You look back and it's fond memories, but you don't want to repeat it. And articles like that. It's one of my best years. Everybody's in the same boat. Long hours, everybody. You really work hard, and rightfully so. You need to put the hours in. You need to do something that separates you from the rest. You need to earn your stripes. I sometimes worry that this young generation is kind of losing that. Not you guys. I look at my younger kids. People think stuff comes too easy, but you really got to work hard for it. And you know what? It makes the satisfaction so much more. So yeah, but I just wanted to agree with you.
In terms of the working hard part, because I'm pretty sure a lot of us can relate, we find it very hard to distinguish where you're working efficiently very hard and where now the rate of your life from our planet. Because you find yourself, okay, I'm working hard to find out, for instance, you're putting time to go to church, don't have time to go to church anymore, you don't have time to see your friends, your family members, or something like this. So the question I was asking, where do you detect that thin line to keep a very well balanced life of very how I'm working and how to keep the other side also not falling out? Because I think one of us struggle.
Okay. Okay, so a couple of things, and it's funny because the last week I I've been asked to do an article on what we now call agile working at City. It's a new term for flexible working. Flexible working is more a formalized arrangement. Agile working is, um, I have my kid has a rugby game or a soccer game from 3 to 5. I leave a bit early, and later on at night I get home and I catch up those 2 hours. It's it's me going on holiday for 2 weeks, but one day I work remotely from my beach resort because otherwise I had to move my entire 2 week holiday because that day I really needed to be online. Um, and the corporate world is changing very much to that. The reason it's doing that is because I think we're moving more towards a results-driven environment, which I welcome very much. Okay, I struggle to get it into the heads of a lot of people who work for us in that just by coming in 8 to 5 every day, or even 8 to 7, I have people that comes in every day, 8 o'clock and leave at 7. Just because you do that does not make you successful. Okay, so let's just get that out the way. If what you do in that time isn't value add, you're not going to be successful. Point blank. Just putting in the hours, but if it's the wrong thing, nobody's going to give you a pat on the back or an extra bonus. Those days are gone. And it should be the similar for you with your studies. When you put time in, your time is finite. You got to make sure you put the right time in that's going to actually add to what you do. You have to be very, very clear on where your priorities are and what's the nice to have. It's nice to hang out with friends, but now you have 1 year to finish honors and CTA. Now you got to put the time in. You only have that opportunity now. So certain things will have to go away. In saying that, I can tell you, looking back at my student life, I don't know what I did for 2/3 of my time. Because now I easily work 12-hour days. Not that I do that every day. My brain just goes, I never get tired. I don't know what I did back in the day. I mean, if you really just pay attention in class and you go home in the afternoon, you spend 2, 3 hours just reflecting on what you've learned, man, you are so far ahead. You don't have to put in the long hours. Why do we all put in these long hours before exams? Because we didn't do enough throughout the year, you know. So if you come and get into a routine, there's more than enough hours, and you don't have to sacrifice on most of those things. The last thing I would say is, if you can stay fit, however you do, if you have a fit and healthy mind, you are sharp. It makes a massive difference. In my job, this year I've been really fit. I've taken up cycling. Last year I had 2 knee injuries, and in January this year my wife's like, listen, you're going to become an old man. Okay? You can't run anymore with your knees. Let's just do cycling. And now I've cycled 175 k's the other day. I really feel fit. Thank you. The point is that the times where I am healthy and fit, I can just feel the difference in my brain power. And it's the same with you guys when you study now. So be healthy, you know. Drink water. Yeah. Okay.
So it's true, something masculine. Yeah, yes, we all strive for a quality balanced lifestyle. You're a student right now. You have December holidays for like 2 months, isn't it? Right? I mean, you have all of that at the end. But during the year, something must give. Nico said it, you must prioritize what is important right now. And that is important is what you should give your time to. You'd have all of this for the rest of your life. You'll be able to go work while you're on holiday, freely, okay, right? But right now, your studies should be your priority. And that's the most important thing. Especially sharing with someone about being fit, to say, if I don't go to gym in the morning and I go to work, I feel like I make poor decisions and I become very irrational and I become very impatient with my stuff as well, right? And if I've been to the gym, when I'm at the office, clear thoughts, I can think objectively. So it is true, you have to find a way. Run around the block in the morning, so do that. It really does help. You might not feel it at the beginning, but it really, really helps.
Anyone else might have a question? Yes.
I have a question. So,
So she's got an inquisitive mindset. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
so we all know that we're moving to like a post-industrial revolution and everything. So I've been reading up on like a few things, not a lot, but just a few things that I see and how the role of an accountant is changing. Like we see it everywhere, but our syllabus is still the same. So like, I'm a bit anxious as
Yeah.
to when we do get there, will we not be as competent in what we're doing? Because it seems now that it's moving more to a financial analyst role, but we're still studying the same material. Will we not struggle when we?
Oh, I love that you asked that question. May I please take
Yeah,
that?
sure. Yeah. So,
No, go.
yeah,
Yeah,
sure. No, no, sorry. You go first. You go
no.
first. You go first.
Okay.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
It's
Good
right.
question.
It's right. There'll be less accounting jobs. Let me tell you why. You know how many CAs, what they do in their day job is what? Just processing. Stuff that you're not, what you don't train to do. Like, we call it production work at City, okay? And I've had the chat with my team this morning, and some of the folks that's been here a long time, they struggle now to adapt because they're used to downloading reports and then fixing the data and doing this in Excel. What have you studied to do? You're a specialist in accounting standards. You're a specialist in tax law. You're a specialist in auditing. And the management accounting bit comes in, really, we call it financial planning analysis. That's what they should really call it, okay? Because um, when you get the numbers, and this is very important for you guys to realize, okay? Robots can't do this. Robots don't understand, they don't understand Citibank South Africa. And when they get the numbers, and we're trying to do this, we're going to try to get our robots to tell us, okay, trading assets are up 100 this month or down. We call it level one analysis, up, down, up, down. But they can't tell us why. What drove it? What business decision was behind it? Um, they don't have the ability to look at the entire picture. And I tell you now, where we sit in the bank, because the bank's made up of various different businesses, right? It all comes together in finance, or the accountants look at it. To put all the numbers and say, actually, okay, these guys are making money, but it's consuming this amount of capital, so their returns are actually not that great. If we move some of these resources there, the returns will be better. Our net income, computer can't do that. That's what we call analytical insight. To sit around a board meeting or tell the CEO, I think we need to do X, Y, Z, or this is a cheaper way to fund the business, or this is a better way to manage our cash business. Computer. And that's what you guys are trying to do. That's why it's so important to marry up all the theory with real life. I want to make another point, which I'm not trying to discredit the top academic and geniuses around you guys. It's just one way that if you're not that genius, to tell you that you have something else that's important. When I studied, you always get those top students. But I quickly realized when I looked at them and where they went in their career, it's not, you can't just be the top academic and top point scorer to be successful in your career. You have to have the human element of it. You need to be rounded and have a personality and all the other stuff. Okay? Yeah. So scraping through CA is fine. That doesn't mean you're not going to be a successful CA one day. Okay? Because there's so many other factors that come into play as well.
So yeah, so on that point, and I think more to it, if one thinks about it, is that, and I'm looking at our environment, an audit environment, we take high number of people. Maybe we might not require so many people. However, we'd still require you with your knowledge. It's how many of you we would require, because we can do data analytics, we can do things quicker, and that's what we're doing. There's nothing wrong with your syllabus at all. What SAICA has done actually, even more, is that introduction of APC or Part 2 that we spoke about. They're also working on a project called CA 2025. And that whole idea basically is to speak to how do we then, with this fourth industrial revolution, how do we match the two? But nothing wrong with your syllabus at all, but how do we enhance the two? But don't be discouraged by what you study. You need to understand those results. You need to be able to write the scripts for your IT auditors. We write those scripts. I tell them, I want the following results, right? This is the test that you're going to do for me. And I write the script for them. But I wouldn't be able to do that if I don't have the auditing knowledge. So you do, yeah, you're not studying irrelevant things. They're very much relevant.
Yes. So what would you have done different?
I would have used my time in class more cleverly. I would. That was wasted time. I sat there daydreaming. Really, I think I could have made it a lot easier for myself if time spent in class actually just tried to make that more fruitful. That's one thing that comes to mind. But for the rest, of struggling, and I think this is what you tried to say earlier. What you said, a learning opportunity or a
opportunities to fail.
yeah, that. And that's what sets our South Africans apart as well. I saw that overseas is that the fighting spirit we have, that resilience. We're really tough. We are really tough. And CA just made me tougher. And I remember the day. I remember where I was when I got the results for the first board exam and that I didn't make it. It, man, it blew me. But I'm stronger for it. And the hunger to learn and understand where I went wrong, that really helped get me through that. So actually, in hindsight, I wouldn't change that, but I would have used my time in class more cleverly. Yeah.
Sure. I think, going through this route to becoming a CA, it really prepares you to where Nico and I are now. The working hard, the time that you've put in, all of that. So now it comes naturally, right? And you realize most of it is as a result of how the program is designed and how it stretches you. So what will I have done differently? Sure, I don't know, right? Because I see the fruits of everything that I've done, how it has worked out. So it's very difficult to say. If anything differently, maybe I've studied marketing. I'd enjoyed to be in marketing.
I can tell you that I'm very, very, very glad I never gave up.
Yes.
And I don't want to, if there's some of you sitting here and you're not fully convinced this is what you're going to do, fine. But you really want it, please don't give up. It's going to be with you forever. Just don't give up. I promise you now, you can mark the day and date. Nico said you can do it. I promise you, it's not that difficult. Yeah, you have to put in your time. Yeah, it's going to be tough, but it's very doable. Really.
This is your question.
Nico, you mentioned that there were certain things that are attractive about bankers, and I'd like to hear more about what is.
Okay, so this is.
I also
okay. So it's obviously it's my view. Okay. It's very complex. I am still learning about banking to this day. It never ceases to challenge you. It's difficult to explain to you the number of products. We call them products. A loan being the most basic example of a product that a bank sells. The banking model is it starts with taking in deposits. So it's a liability on our balance sheet. Now we have cash. Now we need to decide how we deploy that. In loans, derivatives, trading assets, selling and buying FX, bonds, and then we do advisory. But the products themselves are so complex. And then we have what we now call regulation, but I don't want to confuse you guys with that. It's like IFRS, but even worse. Okay, it's the amount of capital that a bank has to carry for the amount of deposits it has, and that's a way of safeguarding the depositors' money if the bank goes bankrupt. And it's not only capital; there's so many different requirements. So I have to master that. I have to master tax. I have to master the product and the accounting thereof, and then I have to put it all together and help management make the right decisions for tomorrow. That's going to make sure we yield the right returns for our shareholders. So that's one element. The people working in banking is what I really enjoy. Now I'll have to take a step back and tell you a little bit about my upbringing, and then you'll understand where I'm coming from. I really wanted to become a professional golfer when I was young, but I wasn't good enough. Ultimately, I said to my dad, just give me a year off after school and let me go and try to pro. He's like, nah. Okay, so I ended up studying CA. But for me, the financial world is like rubbing shoulders with the best of the best out there, the cleverest minds that challenges me on a day-to-day basis. And now after years in banking, I'm able to challenge them, and it brings me great satisfaction. It's I'm easily bored, but banking just continues to challenge me. And that's what I really, really like about banking. What I loved about my time in London is, and I arrived there in 2007, and then it wasn't long and the financial crisis hit. And I literally, saw people walking out with their boxes, getting fired, banks going bankrupt. And the stuff that I dealt with there in my policy days, that was the stuff that hit the papers. These were big leagues. And that was really, really, I really enjoyed that. But it's the challenging bit. Not only what's expected of me, but the people I rub shoulders with and how they challenge me, and that I'm not able to sit around the boardroom table and, lack of a better word, bullshit my way around, because other people would catch me out quite quickly. And that challenge, that motivates me to come back tomorrow and bring my a better game, a better A game, and yeah, that's what I enjoy about it. But again, there's folks that say the same about different initiatives that they're doing. That's the Nico perspective on banking.
Just to kind of follow up on your banking story, was it an interest you always had, say, in CTA, and couldn't really get into it immediately because of market requirements or whatsoever? And if not, how was it drifting from the auditing you were doing during articles to eventually get into banking and to understand how banking works? And if you discovered during your auditing days, how was it trying to push through the 3 years to be like, okay, let me quickly get it over with? Because it's not like 3 days or whatever.
Yeah. Okay, so question one is, yeah, I always wanted to work in banking. It somehow always had this mystery that I wanted to better understand. Okay, but then it became apparent to me, like my third, fourth year, I'm not going to be the top student that's going to get the banking job. I mean, I wasn't even going to get into a big four firm. Okay, I remember I went to, at the time, now it's just the Nedbank group. At the time, it was Netcore, and I went for an interview for the top. Would have been in their internal audit department. And I walked into that building, was like, remember I came from Polokwane. Wow. And they had a coffee shop and a dry cleaner downstairs. I'm like, man, this is heaven. I want to work here. But I mean, needless to say, I never even got invited back for a second interview. And then, yeah, and that's, I think, what brought on the London thing for us. And, and that gave me that opportunity. When we went to London to get into banking that way. And again, it's just, looking back, I mean, I'm that's always when you, in hindsight, I can clearly see how I was so blessed, the God's hand was just everywhere I went, because pre the credit crisis, things were booming in London. I mean, it was booming. There was a contract work market, so you go on contract and you have 2 weeks notice. So that's why I started with Goldman Sachs. They needed somebody. I went for the interview. Tomorrow you start. I started in financial control. Now again, I wanted to do banking, but I had no clue what banking was at that stage. I mean, if I think back at the stuff they let me do, and I had no clue what I was doing there, I can't believe they took such a risk. But now I was in banking. Now I had a foot in the door. Okay, now it was up to me to learn and to prove myself, and that's what I did. And then I did this at Goldman Sachs for 6 months, and I was like honest with myself. Okay, it's fine. It paid the bills. We settled in London now because it's really expensive in London, right? Okay, that's a story for another day. But if you take your rand and you convert it to sterling, it doesn't make for easy reading. Anyway, so now we're there, foot in the door, and I'm like, okay, but now I'm really not learning anything. So I went on to Credit Suisse. A job came up in structuring, product control for structured trade. Phew. A buddy of mine did it. I got a bit of keywords. I nailed the interview, got the job. Okay, so now I'm there. But now I'm like, okay, I got to learn this. So I learned it. I learned about structured trades. That led on to the next thing. Now, 12 months in, I realized, but okay, I understand structured trades, but I'm really going very far away from IFRS or anything that I studied. I'm getting stagnant. And then this technical accounting job at UBS came up, and it's just how it worked out. And that they wanted to get somebody permanent, but that guy accepted the offer and then dropped in towards the end. They were dressed to take somebody in, and we had the chat. They could see I understand structured trades, but it's been a while since I did IFRS. And these guys were like, listen, come in on contract. If you like it, we like you, we make it permanent. And that's how it started. And then I had to learn IFRS, but that to me was kind of a second event, if you like, because the first thing is I had to learn about each area of the bank before you can apply any accounting standard, right? And that's why reading your exam question is so important. That's why they teach you, sit there, read it through. You need to understand what they ask you first before you can apply the accounting. And it was the same in banking. And then I really got to learn about banking. I mean, they were putting up a building in Frankfurt that was, onerous, and we had to put up provisions. Then we did this structured trade, and I had to understand all that. And then I really started drinking from this fire hose. So I knew I wanted to get in banking. I didn't really know what it was, but luckily when I got into it and I just got my foot in the door, I made sure I continued to learn, and I continued to prove myself. And you had a question earlier on when you're ready for part-time. Let me give you an advice tip. You don't have to worry about it too much now, but when you start your career, when you do the right things, the promotion would come naturally. Partnership would come naturally. Back in the day, when I wanted to go to director or I wanted to become CFO, the way you do that is you operate as a CFO, okay? And this is the way I see it. So that when that day comes, when they discuss promotions or the next CFO around the table, somebody should go, is Nico not already a director? Is he not already a CFO? Then you know you're ready. If you're in there and you operate as a partner for 2 years and the firm's got a business case, who says you need to wait 5, 6, 7 years? So if that's your focus, things should come naturally, rather than saying, oh, I have done enough time.